Red Dreaded Entertainment, what is up guys? Akasan here. I'm going to go ahead and knock this one out because if I don't do it now, I have a feeling that I'm not going to do it at all. Very similar to my Infinity War and Black Panther spoiler reviews that I really have these like thoughts that I want to get out and I want to organize it, make it all structured and nice, and it just never gets around to it. So I'll just make this a one take Drake on Deadpool. We can, for the most part, avoid spoilers. It'll be a non-spoiler review here, and I won't be doing a spoiler review because there's not really much to talk about with this particular movie of Deadpool in terms of spoilers. Yes, there are things that happen, but is it really something to debate about, to really talk about, like Infinity War, like Black Panther? Not really, in my opinion. Not really. There are moments that are really, really funny, and there's moments that are very interesting in what happens, but you could just imagine what would be the point. Watching the movies, when you do get a chance to see the movie, you can imagine what parts I would probably like and what have you not. Maybe I will make a spoiler review another time. Maybe another time, or just right after this video. Anyways, let me tell you, in short, did I like Deadpool 2? I liked it. I didn't like it as much as I liked the first movie. And the thing about that, oh my god, I just pissed off Josh Brolin. The thing about Jesus Christ. And the thing about that is, admittedly, I noticed that I don't actually do so well with comedy movies when I go on base to go see those movies because I'm just tired. I'm tired of working the whole day, talking the whole day, and then when I go to see it, unless it's a really standout movie, I notice it's a lot harder for me to be interested in a lot of those movies, particularly if they're comedy based. Because when I saw Deadpool the first time on base, I thought I was really mixed on that movie. I don't know what it was about it. And then when I rewatched it, when it finally came out in Japan, and I watched it, I actually liked it a lot better. The sound was better, the cinematography looked better on IMAX. It all kind of melded together a lot more. And I remember telling Dante that I enjoyed it a lot better the second time around. First time, half of the time, you could barely hear the jokes because of just the way it's presented on base. It is what it is, but to avoid spoilers, there are points that, you know, that you don't want to get spoiled on. And the movie comes out in Japan about 2 weeks from now, so I might go see it again. I'm not really in a rush to see it. I personally think I like the first one a little bit more, mainly because of the way that the story was structured a lot more, and the way that it had a nice mix of comedy and action. I think the second movie is still good, but there is a lot of comedy in this movie, and a lot of comedy that I think tends to run a little bit longer than it should. There are certain scenes where it's just kind of it drags on just a bit, and watching the movie you'll probably know when those moments are. And I do feel that the departure of the original director, one of the reasons, as far as we know, we even have the Deadpool movies now, the test footage that was leaked, and everything else that happened after that. I really liked his work, and I liked what he was kind of doing, and I feel like when he left the project, they kind of lost that serious side of where Deadpool can be, and overcompensated with a lot more comedy this time. Before there was this nice 50-50 blend of like, yo, Deadpool is a fucking badass. He can really be dope, but he can be funny at the same time. And then suddenly when the director left, it became like more like 70% more feeling comedy and was trying to tell more of a character instead of giving us kind of that badass Deadpool action that I was so used to in the first movie, and even the stunts and the fight scenes just seemed a little bit more interesting. This particular movie focused a lot more on, I suppose, Wade Wilson, the man behind the mask, and that was a little interesting. Without spoiling anything, things happen in the life of Wade Wilson that start to have him do this sort of reflection period, and he becomes almost, in some sense, as I'm looking at it in the background here, the god of war. You start to see him kind of as this parental father figure type of situation, and it deals a lot more with feelings, and it deals a lot more with taking care of kids. Like from the trailer, Deadpool's girlfriend, I forgot her name though, she said, children are the future. They allow us to be better than we are, better versions of ourselves. And that reminds me a lot of what Yoda said about children exist, or what did he say? Children exist to learn from our mistakes, or something like that. And it was different. It was funny, and I enjoyed it. But I think the overall situation is it wasn't. I didn't really walk away from that movie like, man, that was awesome. Like, I want to go see that shit. Like, he fucking kicked ass in that movie. I also feel, which was kind of interesting, was beforehand, there wasn't really much of any hype. I really wasn't, like, I don't know what it was. If it had something to do with post-Infinity War, or something, is like the hype for Deadpool just wasn't really there anymore. And I don't know, that it was really a little strange, and I think a lot of it had to do with like just the Infinity War coming out. Is I just really wasn't feeling it. Like I thought Deadpool would be a great way to get out of the Infinity War funk, so to speak, and just really enjoy it. But I felt like the pace of the movie wasn't as tight as the other one, the first one was, where you had the comedy, but the story was still moving. The story was still kind of going, and there were jokes per second, but the story was still kind of moving. This particular movie, I felt like there were jokes, but they were just like really dry, kind of dragged out type jokes that were going on, and you're just like, all right, well, damn, is this the whole movie? This happens, I guess kind of the climax part of the movie, and then boom, like we went right into the third act, and it was just like, oh, okay, that's pretty much it. Like that was it. What I will say though, which was I thought was really interesting, is the after credit scenes in some form or fashion. I feel like the after credit scenes were actually the most interesting part of the movie, or of the Deadpool lore, where most people will probably be talking about the after credit scenes more and what happened there, opposed to what happened when the rest of the movie. I think that's one of the bigger things. There are some moments in the movie that you will be talking about, unique cameos that happen, little things that happen there, but it is the after, like, you'll be like, damn, wait, was that? Well, holy shit, like that. That's kind of cool. I also noticed, ironically, this is two things that I've noticed, and this isn't really spoilers if you've seen the trailers, the reaction from the crowd. The biggest reactions from the crowd, ironically, were all the DC jokes, which I felt kind of bad for, but the biggest reaction was from all the DC jokes going on. And then secondly, all the stuff that were in the trailers had the biggest reactions. And I thought that was kind of interesting to me, given I feel like when you see the trailers and you see those jokes, or you see those moments in a trailer, that it gives away, you know, when it's coming up in the movie. You know when it's about to come up in the movie. I don't know if it has something to do with being a YouTuber, doing the reactions, editing all the time, and looking back at some of the videos, right? But, and so you kind of remember every scene, I guess. But it just, I was very surprised, for example, the DC joke, like, oh man, you're so dark. Are you sure you're not from the DC universe? The whole place was floored, laughing. And I was kind of surprised because yes, it's fucking funny, but I was like, if you've seen the trailer, you kind of knew it was coming, so I didn't know, like, I guess a good amount of people just don't watch the trailers and they saw that Deadpool was showing this weekend and they decided just to show up. I don't know. Maybe maybe that's what it is. Maybe less people see trailers as less people than I thought actually watch trailers before they see a movie. And I don't know what it is about that. But overall, there are some big surprises. I actually thought that the girl that played Domino, I guess there was some kind of controversy about that. I think she worked really well in this movie. I actually wanted to see more of her. Like, I wouldn't mind her returning and seeing some more in this movie. Peter. Peter was interesting. Peter was interesting. That's what I'll say. A lot of the second trailer building X-Force, I legit didn't know. Is that? No, I guess it is. Like, that was in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler. But I legit didn't know that was supposed to be, like, that was going to be the legit X-Force. That them jumping out the plane. It's like, that was kind of interesting about that, the way they included that. The X-Men that were included in this movie, that was great having them in the movie. There are connections to the X world that I thought was really interesting and more particularly focused on the end credits of what the hell was the Apocalypse movie. The end credits of the Apocalypse movie, there's small connections from what's going on there. There's points in there, and I was wondering if they were gonna jump on that a little bit more, but they didn't. They didn't. So I thought that was kind of interesting there. They really focused a lot on feelings. I think they focused a lot on feelings, family, love, and children, and that was a very interesting difference. I don't know. It was just very different to see. Like I said, they focus more on the human, heartwarming aspect of Wade Wilson compared to the sort of raunchy, I don't give a fuck attitude with that is Deadpool. So I'm gonna think about it a bit, and maybe if I get a chance when it actually does come out in Japan in a few weeks, if I have some time, maybe I'll check it again, and my opinion will change just like it did with the first Deadpool movie. And the other thing was the music. I think that was very similar to Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I liked the music a lot more in the first movie. It had a certain tone that I think matched a little bit better, I feel. The music worked a little bit better, whereas the music that they utilized in this movie was sort of there. It was either just sort of there as a joke, and didn't really help set the scene. And that was kind of interesting to see that. Like, it was cool to see Celine Dion doing the opening credit. I thought that was the title sequence for Deadpool was actually really cool to have Celine Dion, I think that was her, doing the opening credits. But then they started using some other music a lot, and I don't know, it became a little too much. Like, I was like, it's funny, but it's not that funny. Whereas the first movie, the usage of the music helped, again, move the story along a little bit more. So, I don't know. So overall, if I were to give it a number or so, I'd say it's a 7. You know, it's a 7. It's a nice way to sort of watch another superhero movie after Infinity War, but it's not really anything I would have rushed out to see unless you really want to see some of the like bonus jokes, bonus footage, and things like that. I mean, the sort of things that might be kind of a spoiler. And I will say that the after credits scene, the stuff with the after credits is definitely worth checking out. Finding it out later is kind of just like, oh, all right. And the other thing that I will say about this is that this second movie feels like it matches the comics a lot more in terms of its really slapstick type, funny type. It's not as serious as maybe the first one was for most people. And I think it does match the tone of the comics a little bit more in the fact that it really doesn't take itself that seriously at all. And there's somewhat of a basic plot in there, but it's just kind of there. And there's a lot of fourth wall breakage, which works fairly well for this particular movie. So I think if you're a big fan of Deadpool, if you're a big fan of the Deadpool comics, you're gonna love this movie. But if you are kind of expecting like that top-notch action that was in the first movie, you might be a bit disappointed with this particular movie, because there isn't really a lot that's like over the top action that'd be like, holy shit, this was did you see how that worked? Did you see, like, you know, for example, in the first movie, the way Deadpool got out of Colossus's grasp was to cut his own fucking arm off and then still flip him off. That was some cool shit. And I don't really remember there being so much of an over the top. There were some scenes. There were definitely some scenes, particularly with Domino in there. But yeah. And I felt like we didn't really get much of Megasonic Teenage Warhead and I don't even know. I don't even know. They said her name so many times. Yukiko. There you go. Yukiko, the other X-Men that was in the movie. We didn't really get too much in this particular movie. But overall, like I said, give it a strong 7, 6, 7 or so. Like, if you're a big fan of Deadpool, you'll like the movie. If not, then you could probably wait on it. Who knows? Alright, hope you guys like that. Non-spoiler review. 17 freaking minutes in this one. I'm out of here. Peace.